Alright, so let's move into the next speaker, Brother Abukar. Let me just give you a quick background of Brother Abukar. So he's former Somalia Special Envoy to the United States. He is widely published political analyst, and he has well written extensively about post-Civil War Somalia, U.S. foreign policy towards Africa, Islam, and the Middle East. He regularly gives Friday khutbah and lecture on Islam through Ohio Humanities Council Speakers Bureau. And over the past decade or so, that's good? Oh, I was a very decorated guy. All right.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته and جزاه الله خيرا وعاكي صالح. This is the second time on conferences وقلني بدون كحيك صديق مركز تروح على انت صاير وفد. There's nothing else to add. لكن رنا أنتي نحن ملاقينا this is by far the best conference, and really by all standards, كما حد لا يكليه in our standard or SDY or by all standards. هدايا نقف كلا أساس really dad badan oo wax ku kala baxsan yihiin laga faa'iideysanay speaker kasta yani brought in some good points. جزاكم الله خيرا dhamaantiin. waxaan isku dayaa kolay waa soo gaabin doonaa warkayga nusaac ma malaynaa inaan hadlahay laakiin waxaan isku dayaa couple of points inaan wax yar ka iraaho speakerski hore waxyaalaha oo aniga si gaar ah aan rabay inaan dib ugu noqdo insha allahu tacaala. walaashay faynuur جزاه الله خيرا تدالك أي وده in terms of sports building peace based on that. I think it's very essential. مدي فتوى هذا ورسالة جاكسي إن شاء الله تعالى إني صحت عين كليته. بدنا محمد يا مهن علماء نحيرك الشيء إن شاء الله تعالى against موضة جمعنا هاي لكن خارج كذا ما راح تنتوض بدن really. دينتا إن فهم كذا I think ساكن وحكوب باللابي شيخ آذن ويجي حفظك كلية معها يقف كوينه كعمل فلا ضد كان برامجت. I think that's a good theme to repeat, and it's a very important point. It's not only memorizing the Quran, but it's also applying it on yourself, teaching it to others, and so forth and so on. Marka, right now we are in a situation where if this building was on fire, okay, and you have many people who want to put out the fire, but they're wearing shorts, and some of them are not wearing anything on their top, for example. People would be more concerned about, are they really Islamically compliant or Sharia compliant or not? You're putting out a fire, for God's sake. It does not matter, because this deen teaches you about those things are not even to be discussed, let alone to be settled. Because the priority is to put out the fire. So whether the girl is dressed right or wrong, that's a luxury conversation that our ulama nowadays, God bless them, are given a lot of focus, but that's not what this deen is about. So I wanted to underscore that. Yeah. Second thing is the point that was raised by Yasmin, Jazakallah khair, which requires a lot of courage. And personally, it touched me, and I'll tell you the reason why. Because for 5 years, I think it was like 2002 till 05, I started doing a volunteer work for Central Ohio Suicide Prevention Hotline. So I was doing like 2 weekends, 3 hours each Saturday and Sunday, so 6 hours in total for the weekend. So when I started, people were asking me, why are you doing this thing? You know, because really you're encountering people who have either committed or they're at the ideation stage or various levels of, trying to harm themselves, basically. majority of the cases is a mental health issue. Depression, and then some are drug abuse, some are like divorces or situations that they could not handle that they're going through or something. But in general, mental health was the central theme that compelled them to make those calls. Now, one of my friends at the time said, well, this is not our issue. And this is the part that I wanted to underscore, inshallah. Then what I found out is when I started doing the hotline, they have a log that are the people who are frequent callers, people who just call in more often than the others. And oftentimes they don't fulfill what they said they're about to do. Some just need the attention, some need to talk, some need to want to get references to various services. So I looked at those lists, and this one number had like Islamic name, I mean the person. It was a female. So she started calling. And then one weekend, I started answering the phone and we started talking. I didn't identify myself religiously because you're not supposed to be doing that. But you can advise them based on faith and what's good and how to cope and so forth and so on. Wallahi, it's a very serious issue. And we need to take seriously these kind of issues and try to offer it. Parents, and I think it was already said this morning, and I'm going to emphasize again, we really need to think about that. At the early stage when there is a need expressed, to be there, to be helpful, that's the Islamic way of doing things. أحب الناس لله أنفعهم للناس. Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam said, the person whom Allah loves the most is the person who's helpful to others, to people, to human beings. There's no limitation on Islam or non-Islam or young or old or black or white, or an-nas includes everybody, includes all people. So even if your services is directed to people that have nothing to do with Islam, you're fulfilling what Allah wants you. Forget about what particular sheikh might have that opinion of his, and we would respect that. We respect the opinion, but we won't have to take it like Imam Malik said. Imam Malik, rahimahullah, what he said is that you don't like this sheikh unless he's telling you the person in this grave, he was pointing at the Prophet ﷺ's grave, unless he tells you the Prophet said this, or Allah said this, the rest is his opinion. We respect the opinion, but we don't have to take the opinion. So help the people because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to help them. And that's what this theme of this conference is. How to provide service and the honor involved in service. I think, again, everything has been said. I just want to go back and just emphasize a couple of points. Sincerity is very critical. When you're providing services, it has to be for a cause that's bigger than you. A lot of people said that, and I fully agree with that. But sincerity is very critical. Also, humility is very critical. That you don't grow arrogant because somebody's below you, that you are helping them, you know. And there is a tendency for service providers to feel that way, that a person is like below me because I'm helping that individual. You know, that's another thing. The other thing that I want to say is we live in a society that we're all aware of. It's self-obsessed society, basically. The me, myself, and I culture that we're all familiar with. But the human being, the dignity of the human being, and the worth of the human being depends on what he or she provides for others, not for themselves. If it was the best, if it makes you the best human being because you are narcissistic and you just love yourself and provide for yourself and you have all the billions, Donald Trump will be the person who gets that award, hands down, right? hands down. But that's not the case, because the person who has really value, value within the society is the person who sacrifices his time or his wealth or his intellect and her wealth and her intellect and her service. That's the good person. May Allah make us that person, inshallah ta'ala, and I'll conclude my remark with that. Jazakumullahu khair.